Hi, and welcome to Prickle Thicket. It's been a long time since I've done a long form video, so I thought I'd show you how I do the light straw clay. I have a barn wall that needs to be filled, so this seemed like the best time to do it. Light straw clay is simply a mix of straw and kind of a clay slip, which is a real thin clay mix. You mix it up, ram it in, and it makes actually quite a sturdy wall with some insulative and also some heat holding properties, some heat resistance. So let me get started. So the first thing I'm going to go over is what you need to do light straw clay, and you don't really need a lot. So you're going to need a few buckets. You're going to need obviously soil that has some clay in it, and our subsoil is perfect for this. You're going to need straw. I have found that if you can get it, wheat straw is the best. It molds the least, but any quality straw will work. You need a tarp that's not too big. I think this one's probably 5 by 7 or 8, something like that. And then you're going to need some kind of screen for the soil, and I'll link the video where I screen the soil. I screen my soil through a 1/4-inch hardware cloth. And then you're going to need some way to mix your slip in with your water. So this bucket, 5-gallon bucket, is half full of water. And then these buckets are completely full of screened subsoil. So that's the ratio, is about 1 to 2 water to soil. And then I have this handy dandy mixer. You don't have to have one of these, but it makes everything super, super simple. Okay, so the first task is to spread the straw on the tarp. And wrap this up. This straw is baled with wire, which is nice in some ways, but kind of a pain because you can't just cut it with a knife. So when you're spreading your straw, you want to make sure that it's not clumped. So it tends to come off in these flakes or clumps, and you want to break all those up when you're spreading, because it's really hard to do it later, and you really want the clay to coat every single strand for the best wall. So I'll get this spread. Okay, now my straw is spread out. It's all declumped. I usually use 4 or 5 flakes, but this isn't an exact science, so you'll learn what works best for you. The next step is to mix the soil. So you want it to look like maybe whipping cream, or it's not super thick, but it's also thicker than just water. Okay, so the next step is, oh no, I gotta go find my little scooper. All right, the next step is to mix this, and over the time that I've done this, I've kind of learned a way that works the best with the least amount of work. So I used, this was like one of those containers that mixed nuts comes in. It works really well because it has a way to hold on. And I should mention that whenever you're doing earthwork, cob, straw clay, earthen plastering, you really want to wear just kitchen gloves, because the clay pulls all of the oils out of your hands and they will crack and hurt, and it's just really rough on your skin. So I just wear these. So here we go. So I do several scoops for the first one. Just to start the process going. And then here we go. So you're gonna pull it to fold it. And you'll find that if you don't give it a good shake, the clay will stick to your tarp, and then it gets incredibly heavy and you're wasting your clay. So you just shake it after each one. And I give it a good okay. And I usually grab the ends and throw them to the center, because the ends tend to not get incorporated if you don't. And then back the other way. So we really love this straw clay building technique. I had read about it in a lot of historical books, like construction books and technique books, but had never tried it actually until I got here. And so far, every single building that we have now incorporates light straw clay. We've lived in the hovel for 2 years, 2 full years almost, and all 4 seasons. It's a decent insulator, but it also has enough mass to offer, you know, some thermal mass, so it doesn't change temperatures real quick. And obviously it's quite inexpensive. It is fairly labor intensive, as you can see, but it's not nearly as labor intensive as, say, cob or adobe. So it's much faster than those. However, it's an infill, not load bearing. So we do a post and beam with our buildings. And on the barn, we are going to try to put it in a stud situation. So, because that is what we're planning on doing with the cottage. So, yeah. All right, it's starting to look like, I always compare it to like a salad, a good salad, how you have a little bit of dressing on everything, that's how this should look when it's ready. It's just a light coating on everything. No really areas that are dry. So so because I do it through a 1/4 inch screen, there's actually a fair amount of like fine gravel. But that doesn't hurt anything in the wall. And so now it's light enough that I can pour it with some, but you can see that gravel coming in through there. Okay, here we go. Woo! Okay. Try not to fall on my face in front of you guys. Not that it would be that unusual for me, but you know, we all like to have a little dignity. So, you see there's really wet clumps. Doesn't hurt anything. I'm not really seeing much dry though. That's good. There's kind of a dry piece. All right. Right, last bit. Okay. So that goes over here. Now I'm not sure that I'm gonna need to do 2 batches for this little palette part wall portion, but I screened enough dirt to do 2 just in case, because I want to get this done today. We're supposed to have a thunderstorm this afternoon, so I got other things I need to do to prepare for that. And this is looking quite good, actually. Maybe kind of dry right there. All right. One more. Okay, here we go. So that's done. And now that's all that's left is for me to drag this out where I'm going to use it. So here is the wall that I'm going to fill. It's just a single pallet, and what we've done is we have screwed plywood up to just act as a form. And then here is my straw clay that's ready, and let me just bring it a little closer so you can kind of see what it looks like. So it's just, you know, loose straw. It's got a very thin coating of the clay slip on kind of each one. And I promise you, when you first pick this up and start putting it in the wall, you are going to be positive that this is never going to work, but it really will. So this actually is best if you have 2 people, 1 person to fill and 1 person not to, but I don't, so here we go. Now one caveat is you're gonna be tempted to like put as big of pieces as you can get in there to fill it faster. And I have found that especially the first few bundles, until the board gets kind of lubricated with slip, they'll stick and they won't go down, and then so this is just a 2x4, and you just give it a good tamp. You can feel where it hits the bottom. Pull it out. This one's almost too long for this. Let's see if I have a shorter one. Nope. Okay. Oh, Here's one. So you just bundle it up. Always try to pack it a little bit, and then push it down. And then you sort of want to fill it evenly all the way across if you can, because you just get better results in the end. This one might be too short. Yep, too short. If it's too short, it smashes your fingers and it hurts. So let's not do that. So I'm just gonna have to fight with this for a little bit. There we go. So I'm off to mix up another batch and finish my wall, and I will show you what it looks like when the form comes off. Well, I finished to the top of these walls, and I've let it sit for about an hour. Technically, you can pull the forms off immediately, but I find that I get a smoother surface if I sort of let those straw pieces bond and flatten. So let's see if I got all the voids out. Moment of truth. That one looks good. Alrighty, number 2. Yes. Okay. So it looks good. And let me show you what it looks like a little closer up. So as you can see, I don't have any voids, which means I didn't miss anything. And it kind of is level with these boards, which will make it easier to plaster. And then right now it's pretty soft, but once it hardens, it's quite firm. Like you can crush it if you push really hard, but it makes an excellent base for earth plaster. So thank you for following along with this very long video. And if you have any questions or if you would like to see something else, please drop me a comment. I really appreciate you guys coming by, and we will see you next time.